first day, General Lee would have scouts across the field to figure out where Meade had retreated to, and he would come to discover the Union battle line to be in the shape of a fishhook, basically an upside-down J. One of these things right here. Look, we're on the outside of the fishhook. On the inside, you had a lot of important landmarks. Culps and Cemetery Hill sit over here.
Hello.
Culps Hill blocked by the ridge. Cemetery Hill today blocked by the houses and trees, which wouldn't have been of it. Obviously, you can see today everything's blocked out. Cemetery Ridge kind of curls around Cemetery Hill, beginning where you see those two white buildings to the south of town. And it goes along to the south, the obelisk, the big dome building, and then all the way at the bottom are two hills we're going to go to later on called the Round Top. It's the bottom end of the fishhook. Big Round Top, the taller wooded hill to the right, and then Little Round Top is the smaller, clearer hill to the left. That's kind of the shape of the Union line, wrapped around and going back towards the east. It was about 3.5 miles long, and eventually there'll be about 90,000 men there for the Union, about 360 cannons, and open field between north and south, and Lee still wanted to attack. His battle plan on day 2 was not too complicated. He simply wanted to strike both ends or both flanks of the Union fishhook simultaneously and collapse them into each other. So he wants to attack Little Round Top, push those guys this way, attack Cemetery Hill, collapse them into the south. For that to work, you had to have things like coordination, communication, and proper cooperation for his officers. On day 2, all those were lacking. First and foremost, Longstreet, Lee's second in command, didn't want to fight here. He thought it was a bad idea to attack, period, so he was against attacking. Tries to convince Lee otherwise. That would delay the attack for a long time. Coordination was lacking because the attack wouldn't start when it was supposed to. Longstreet would start the attack earlier in the day. Due to a lot of delays, unfamiliarity with the terrain, the battles would begin down here until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And that would throw everything off, and eventually the battle wouldn't begin up here until 7 o'clock in the evening. 3 hours between the attack allowed George Meade to move his men down to the south to help stop Longstreet over here, and then move his guys back up later on to stop that attack. So after very heavy attacks on the second day, very close calls here for the Union, the battle ends in a tie on the second day. A draw, both sides still staring down each other across this valley, and we go into a third and final day. And on July 3rd, eventually, after a lot of deliberation, Lee decides the very center of the Union line at one point, and that results in Pickett's charge on July 3rd. So at 3 o'clock p.m. on July 3rd, 12,500 Confederates in a line that began in this area and extending for almost a mile to our south will step out of these trees 3 o'clock p.m. on the final day of the battle and march across the open fields with hopes of breaking through and shattering the Union center on Cemetery Ridge. Now, waiting to greet them were upwards of 100 cannons between Cemetery Hill and around them, all of which could bombard these guys all the way across the field. And meanwhile, you know, for the Southern infantry, they have the old rifle musket, same as the North does, but its accuracy only 200 to 300 yards. So, I mean, for the first 15 minutes of the attack, they're getting bombarded, and all they can do is just march forward. And they can't fire back until they can finally get to the Emmitsburg Road, where that white truck is driving right now to the south, so they can fire back. So when they reach that road, then they can fire with their guns. But until that point in time, between here and there, it's just a march, it's a walk, getting obliterated, completely helpless up until that point in time. And still they would go on. They believed they could do this. Lee would precede the attack of Pickett's charge with about a 2-hour-long bombardment of cannons. So you'd have 150 cannons shell the ridge there for almost 2 hours. It was somewhat ineffective. So when these guys step out of the trees at 3 o'clock thinking they might have an easier time of it, they would find out very early that it's not going to be the case at all. You had a little bit of a gap between the bombardment and the actual attack that allowed the North to bring in fresh batteries of cannons to replace the broken ones. And so these guys are still well entrenched over there on that side and ready to receive anything that Lee would throw at them. Other problems here for the attack on day 3 for Pickett's charge was the men that Lee chose to attack. North Carolina, Tennessee had already fought the battle on day 1, and in many cases they had suffered over 50% losses, so they were not fit to fight. Lee would ride along this part of the battle line prior to Pickett's charge, and he would see a lot of those men in bandages, you know, wrapped around their head, their arm, their leg, and he'd say these guys are not fit to do this attack, but it's too late. We've already begun, so he had to basically go do the best that we had here available. Oddly enough, there were other brigades in the area that he could and should have used that had not fought yet. But it's like Lee, you know, just picked the guys that were closest to where he wanted the attack to begin from, and then just went from there. So for all the planning of the location that he wanted to attack, which wasn't very good either, He failed to pick the right guys for the job, and the result will be catastrophic, as we'll see here towards our tail end of our tour. Anybody have any questions while we're here?